Hey there, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you 5 new sheet pan dinners, and whether you've been cooking for a long time or you're new at cooking, sheet pan dinners will be a win-win for you just because they're so easy to throw together and they are all so delicious. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's go get started. To kick us off today, we are making the sheet pan crusted chicken. So to begin, I have 2 large chicken breasts right here. I sliced those chicken breasts in half horizontally, so now it kind of appears as like 4 chicken breasts. The reason that I love slicing my chicken in half like that is just so that it cooks quicker and it will be a lot more tender in the end. Now I'm seasoning both sides of the chicken with a dash of salt and pepper. Now for the coating on the chicken, I have 1 cup of Italian style breadcrumbs I poured into that bowl, and then I just added 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour to that plate, and then I cracked 2 eggs into that separate bowl. I'm whisking those eggs up. Now to begin on the coating, I first dip it in the all-purpose flour and then go ahead and dip it in the egg mixture. Lastly, of course, dip it in the breadcrumbs. Make sure it gets super duper really well coated in those breadcrumbs. Then just repeat the process for all of the chicken. I have my sheet pan here, and I'm going to be spraying it with avocado oil spray, or you could use olive oil spray, or really any spray you like. Then I added 1 pound of asparagus that I kind of cut into bite-sized pieces right on my sheet pan. I sprayed the top of them with oil, then sprinkled them with a dash of pepper and salt. On the other side of the sheet pan, I am going to add our chicken down. This is going to bake on 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. While our chicken's in the oven baking away, I'm going to cut our 3 small to medium-sized zucchinis into half moons. So now that we have our chicken out of the oven, I am going to flip it over. Just make sure you do be careful flipping the chicken just so you don't break apart the breading on it. I'm also going to flip the asparagus over just so it could cook on the other side. And then you'll go ahead and add the zucchinis in with the asparagus. I did spray them with a little bit of oil spray, and I seasoned them with salt and pepper. I continued to bake this in my oven for an additional 5 to 10 minutes, or until my zucchini was to the tenderness that I like it to be. This crusted chicken is absolutely perfect. It is definitely a favorite for me just because it's so tender and the coating on the outside is so delicious, and then those veggies are cooked perfectly. This is a family favorite meal for sure. Now we're making this honey garlic chicken and veggies. So to begin, I have my 1 big head of broccoli I cut into smaller pieces, along with my baby carrots. I cut them into small rings, and I sliced 1 red bell pepper. I set those veggies to the side. Now to start on the sauce, I added 1/3 cup of honey to this little bowl, a tablespoon of minced garlic, 1/4 cup of low sodium soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. Whisk this all together. Into this large bowl, you are going to be tossing in all of those veggies. You'll also be adding in 1 pound of chicken breast that you cubed into smaller pieces, and then also go ahead and add that yummy honey sauce that we made up. Stir this all together to coat the veggies and the chicken in that honey sauce. And my little helper Macy is so darling. I can't believe she's already a month old. Over to my sheet pan, I have it lined with aluminum foil, and I sprayed it with nonstick spray. You don't have to use foil, but on extra busy nights, I just really like to use the foil for easy cleanup. I'm going to bake this on 350 for about 20 minutes, or until my chicken's cooked and the veggies are tender. We love serving this over a bed of white rice, and I sprinkle sesame seeds and sliced green onions over the top. This has amazing flavor, and I can't believe this is such a simple sheet pan meal. Now we're making one of my husband's favorites, these steak fajitas. I have about 1.5 pounds of flank steak right here. I'm removing it from the packaging, and I do want to let you know, for all of these recipes today, if you don't care for the specific veggies that I use in them, you could always make them your own and use whatever veggies you love. I just wanted to let you know that, but anyways, I'm slicing the steak against the grain at this point, and I'm trying to do it as thin as possible. This is going to make your steak extra tender in the end, I promise, just trust me. So now that our steak is nicely sliced, I am going to set it to the side. Of course, you can't have fajitas without peppers and onions, so I sliced my 1 yellow bell pepper, a red bell pepper, and a red or purple onion, whatever you like to call it, into thinner pieces like this. Now I'm going to bring my veggies over to a large bowl, and I'm going to add these veggies right into that bowl. You're also going to be adding a half a packet of either fajita or taco seasoning. I totally swore that I had a packet of fajita seasoning on hand, but I guess I didn't, so I just used that taco seasoning. I also added about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I gave this a stir to coat everything in the seasoning and the oil. I brought over my sheet pan, lined it with aluminum foil for easy cleanup, and then I added those veggies right onto the sheet pan. I set the broil button on my oven, and I let this broil in my oven for about 5 minutes. Now that our veggies are out of the oven, you are going to add our steak right onto the sheet pan to go alongside of the veggies. You'll also be adding an additional 3 tablespoons of olive oil right on the steak and the remaining seasoning in your packet. Stir this all together to coat the steak in the oil and the seasoning. Put this under your broiler in the oven for an additional 8 minutes or until the steak is cooked to the way that you like it to be. I've gotten questions in the past on how I make my crispy tortillas for my fajitas, so I'm going to show you right now. To the pan on my stove, I added about 3 tablespoons of oil. You could use any oil you like, olive oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. And once that oil was hot, I added my tortillas down. I let them cook for a minute or 2 on each side or until they got to be a nice golden color. And then I removed them to a separate plate lined with paper towel to absorb any of the excess oil. And there you go, you have perfect restaurant quality tortillas. And here's our beautiful steak fajita filling out of the oven. This is my plate of food. Of course, I served them in those crispy flour tortillas. I topped them with cherry tomato, sour cream, cilantro, and lime. But make your fajitas your own and top yours with whatever you love. That steak is fall apart tender, and this has phenomenal flavor. This one is for all of my fellow pesto lovers out there. We are making this pesto chicken and veggies. To my large bowl, I'm adding 1.5 pounds of these little red potatoes that I cut into bite-sized pieces. Make sure you use the little red potatoes or golden potatoes. Don't use russet potatoes because russet potatoes tend to take longer to bake in the oven. Then I added in a cup of cherry tomatoes and 1 pound of trimmed green beans. Lastly, I'm adding in a half a cup of basil pesto and a dash of pepper and salt. Stir this all together. I grabbed my sheet pan and sprayed it with nonstick spray. We are going to be adding our veggies right onto that sheet pan, and go ahead, spread them out as even as possible. I have my 2 large chicken breasts right here. Again, I sliced them in half horizontally, so it kind of appears as 4 chicken breasts. You know, it's my favorite way to prepare chicken. I seasoned that chicken on both sides with a dash of salt and pepper. Now we're spreading our basil pesto over the top of the chicken on each side. This is going to bake on 400 degrees for about 25 minutes or until your chicken reaches 165 degrees internally and your potatoes are nice and tender. Here's dinner ready to enjoy. That chicken is so juicy and flavorful from the pesto, and those veggies are just perfect. My daughter is not the biggest pesto fan in the world, but she actually even enjoyed this dinner. Now we're making the steak seasoned pork tenderloin. To begin, I have about 1.5 pounds of gemstone potatoes right here. They're pretty much just red, gold, and purple potatoes. I sliced those in half, and this is what the packaging looks like if you're wondering. They're pretty good. I just find them at my local Walmart. Next, I'm adding in 1 pound of Brussels sprouts. I did trim the ends off of the Brussels sprouts, and I sliced them in half. Then you'll add in about 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of seasoned salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. You could use any other seasonings that you care for if you don't particularly care for my seasonings though. We're going to be tossing our pork tenderloin down on our sheet pan. This is the pork I'm using. It's just the Smithfield brand, and it's the steakhouse seasoned. There are so many different other flavors of these pre-seasoned pork tenderloins that I find at my grocery store, and they've all been pretty good that I've tried so far. But I also added our veggies down on our sheet pan. I baked this on 425 degrees for about 45 to 55 minutes or until the pork was cooked. Here's dinner ready to enjoy. One of the first meals I actually cooked for my husband and myself when we first got married was one of those easy pork tenderloin packets, just because they're easy, but they're pretty good. And then I served it alongside of those veggies. I also served it with this cheesy cheddar easy sides pasta mix, and it kind of just reminds me of mac and cheese. It was my first time trying it, but this meal is a total hit. I hope you found yourself a dinner for today, and I have plenty more sheet pan videos like this on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed down below the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.